The video that you're seeing now is that the Wagner PMC leader Yevgeny Prigozhin is visiting the new Wagner camp in Belarus. This camp, and according to the Belarusian opposition, is located nearby the city of Osipovichi, which is located south of the Belarusian capital Minsk. Also, it is important to mention that this camp is 430 kilometers away from Kyiv, 700 kilometers away from Lviv, west of Ukraine, 600 kilometers away from the Polish city of Bialystok, and just 300 kilometers away from the Lithuanian capital city Vilnius. It is very important to mention those distances between Wagner camp and those cities, as they represent the future target plan for Wagner, which is harassing or a ground offensive toward the NATO major cities of Vilnius and Bialystok. It is unlikely to happen, but we need to take this into consideration. A ground offensive toward the city of Lviv, west of Ukraine, and this scenario, maybe it can happen, as we all know that the Russians are facing problems with the NATO supplying Ukraine, and by taking control of the west of Ukraine, then the fall of Kyiv and her regime is a matter of time. A direct ground offensive toward Kyiv and Chernihiv Oblast, and I think personally this scenario will happen for sure, because when the Russian army or even Wagner head west of Ukraine and getting closer to NATO border, this will push NATO to intervene directly to set a buffer zone on the Ukrainian lands. Even we can notice that the new camp of Wagner has been established east of Belarus, not on the west. By this we understand that the Russians also, they are not trying to provoke the NATO, and the Russians are keeping the NATO out from going on the ground in Ukraine, because if NATO move in without cooperation with the Russians, we all know where this will lead us, to a nuclear war. We move down to the south of Ukraine and precisely to Odesa. The Russians are still hitting the ports of Odesa. And before we dive into the details, if you like this reporting, please consider to like and subscribe to the channel. It's a big help for me to grow the channel. And also don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next updates. So there is 4 major ports in Odessa region. The Russians has focused targeting 2 ports, but they did not target the rest. We will start with Odessa port, which is located in the city, close to the city center. As we can see, it's a huge port, contains a lot of depots, like grain depots, train railways, oil depots, and so on. And this port has been targeted for the previous 2 days. The second port, which is located next to the settlement of Oleksandrivka, and it has the same structure like Odessa port, and also this port has been hit for many times for the last 2 days. The third one is the port of Yuzhny, and it is the biggest one in the region, and the Russians did not target this port for the reason to keep a door open for a future grain deal, which is smart move from the Russians. The fourth one is the port of Izmail. Is located on the Danube River. It is smaller compared to the previous 3 ports, but it's still important. The latest update that all ships were supposed to dock there stopped in the Black Sea in fear to be targeted by the Russians. We move now north to Donetsk region and precisely to north of Marienka. 2 days ago, the Russians crossed the open fields and successfully took control over the coal mine. The Ukrainians until now conducting artillery shells and targeting the area with drones, but they could not drive the Russians back from the mine. We move to Luhansk and precisely to Torskoy front line. As the Russians reached the northern outskirts of the settlement, they now took a defensive positions in the area. The Ukrainians still conducting attacks from 3 directions, but they were not able to make any kind of a breach in the Russian defense line. So that's all from me today, guys. Thank you for joining, and until next time. Bye bye.